Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV, and what a result, what a win that has been for Monaghan. They have beaten Dublin at Croke Park. They have beaten Dublin by a scoreline of 114 to 3-9. And I think, firstly, do you know what? Fair play to Monaghan. You have to give credit to Monaghan right out the get-go. I think before you look at the Dublin result and look at the Dublin defeat, and look, I'm sure some Dublin fans and everything else will be a little bit disappointed with this result, and maybe we're a little bit surprised. But to be honest with you, I'm not that surprised. I am not that surprised at all. And look, I predicted a draw coming into this game. Anyone who watched my videos around like that or watched the preview show will know that I predicted a draw coming into this match. I didn't think Dublin would be at their best, and I also respected the quality that Monaghan have, and that's even without Rory Beggan, that's even without Carl Gallagher, that's without the likes of Conor McManus. I think Monaghan have a lot of very, very good players coming through the ranks at the moment. I think they showed that today. I think Kieran McNulty, I don't know if he's an underage player, and Monaghan fans will correct me if I'm wrong, but look, he scored a goal and a point coming off the bench. Haven't heard too much about him. Don't know if he's a player for the future. I don't know if he's a player who's made his way up from, club championships and everything else. I really don't know. But what I do know is that he had a very good game, and he really made an impact coming off the bench for Monaghan today. And that's the thing. Monaghan is such a well-run county that you can never write them off. And it was so easy. I spoke to Dublin fans in the week who said Dublin will win this comfortably. Dublin will win this 4 or 5 points, even, change team and everything else. When the teams were announced, I had Dublin fans messaging me saying, how could you predict a draw for this game? This game is going to be comfortable. This game is going to be an absolute landslide. And in many ways, look, I was wrong because Monaghan won, So I think at the end of the day, the apology should be directed towards Monaghan fans. And, fair play to Monaghan. Look, they dug deep. I think the first half was an interesting game. Obviously, Dublin started with that early goal from Cormac Costello. You felt like Dublin were quite comfortable in the opening 25 minutes. I mean, Dublin were leading 1-3 to 2 points. It was very, very comfortable. But then Jack McCarron gets that penalty. Some Dublin fans inside Croke Park, I was at the game, I was in Croke Park, and some Dublin fans inside the ground were a little bit frustrated, a little bit disappointed with that penalty decision. But actually, when you look back at the replay, I think, it does look a penalty in fairness. So I don't think you can really dispute it. Jack McCarron puts the penalty away, and that gave Monaghan confidence. That gave Monaghan the confidence that they needed in Croke Park. Look, I know their record against Dublin in the league has been very good. They haven't lost to Dublin in the league since 2017. So, look, they're coming in with a degree of confidence. Obviously, they lost to Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final last year, but at the same time, there is a degree of confidence coming into this. Owen Merchant gets a point after that, but then Stephen O'Hanlon runs through, and you're thinking, pop the ball over the bar, like, take your chance, and he puts the ball right in the top corner. David O'Hanlon can do absolutely nothing about it, and the game finishes level at half-time, and that was a bit of a killer blow because, I thought Dublin did quite well in the first half, considering it wasn't a fluent, it wasn't the best Dublin version you'll see in terms of performance, in terms of team selection. I was relatively quite happy, I thought Ross McGarry did quite well. Luke Breathnach, obviously coming in, making a start. I thought did well. Cormac Costello, I thought was playing very impressive. A goal and 4 points. So I was relatively happy, but the game was level at half-time. So you're thinking, that was a bit of a killer blow. And going into the second half, the game can go either way. The game can go either way. Dublin's defence was very poor. It definitely was. There's absolutely no question about it. I think when you don't have Mick Fitzsimons in there, you can see the difference. You can see the difference within this Dublin side. Sean McMahon, he's a bit of a cult hero within Dublin fans because of the fact he came on in the All-Ireland final last year and made such an impact. But I think if we're looking at reality, I don't think he's the man. I think Mick Fitzsimons is the man. I think Theo Clancy could be the man further down the line. And Dublin's defence was cut open. Absolutely cut open. And, Kieran McNulty has acres of space for that goal going into the final 10 minutes. When Cormac Costello gets a point from a free, when David O'Hanlon gets a point from a 45, we're thinking, or from a free, you're thinking, all right, Dublin maybe might just have an opportunity here, but we lose possession. Brian Fenton loses possession going into the final couple of minutes. Monaghan work a score, and Kieran McNulty pops it over the bar. And look, fair play to Monaghan. Fair play to Monaghan, because, look, I backed them to stay up this time around. So, one of the, the rare seasons where I've actually backed them to avoid relegation. But, I thought this game would be a draw, to be fair. So I never actually predicted Dublin to win this. So, a lot of people probably didn't give Monaghan the credit they deserve. But I actually did, to be fair. And I actually said the best case scenario would be a Dublin draw, because, Dublin notoriously under Desi Farrell are slow starters. We just are. We never take the league seriously. We never really approach the league with any real venom, with any real consideration. The age profile of the side are late 20s to 30s. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the focus for Dublin is the championship. That's the main focus. And for Monaghan, I think they looked at this game and they saw a massive opportunity to win this. They really, really did. And they took it. And I'm not surprised, because coming into this game, I predicted a draw, but that was the best case scenario, in my opinion, from a Dublin perspective. It's no way surprising that Monaghan have won this, because when you combine the fact that Dublin, as I said, notorious slow starters, don't take the league that seriously, and you combine that with the fact that Monaghan are always bang up for these games, I'm not surprised. Not surprised in the slightest. Two good games. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I didn't catch too much of the Derry-Kerry game because I was on the way to this game, but catch the end of it. And yeah, fair play to Derry, like, for getting over the line. Like, massive win for, obviously, Mickey Hart, first game in charge. Kerry, I saw that goal they scored towards the end where the keeper was on his holidays. Don't know what was happening there. I've no idea. Kind of nearly reminds me of when you're playing FIFA with your mates and you press Y by accident and the keeper just runs out into the halfway line. No idea. I'll need to watch that game back, to be honest with you. But yeah, fair play to Derry. Massive result. Mickey Hart first game going away to Kerry, huge. But look, we'll obviously discuss that, I'm sure, tomorrow evening or Monday evening or whatever. But look, today belongs to Monaghan. I think the question is now, for any Monaghan fans who are watching this, and when I did my preview show, I was very tempted to throw Monaghan into a league final. I genuinely do believe Monaghan have a chance of winning the league. I really, really do. I know they lost Began, I know they lost Carl Gallagher, I know Conor McManus maybe won't feature till the latter parts of the league. But I think Monaghan are so used to digging out results in the league. They're so used to doing what it takes that I could see them sneaking into that league final. I really, really could. Now, look, I know it's one game, 2 points. Look, a win at this stage of the season means nothing. We saw Donegal beat Kerry in the opening day of the league last year, and they look at the season they had. They got relegated comfortably, and, history speaks for itself. I know Donegal, obviously, have McGuinness in charge now, but when you look back at last year, I think Donegal were an absolute mess, So you can't, but at the end of the day, Monaghan are not that team. Monaghan are a side to, I think Monaghan are going to have a very, very good season this year. I think Monaghan are going to have a year where it's going to be similar to last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Monaghan reach an All-Ireland final this year, semi-final. So maybe an All-Ireland final might be a stretch, but All-Ireland semi-final, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it could happen. I think it definitely could happen, in my opinion, especially when you look at the younger players coming through as well. But from a Dublin perspective, disappointing result. But ultimately, I think the focus for Dublin is on the championship, especially with the age profile. And I think you will see a lot of these results for Dublin. I think the most important thing now is you've got Mayo next week. You need to win that game, because if we lose to Mayo, you got Roscommon the next week, and then you got Kerry after that. All of a sudden, relegation might be on the agenda for Dublin, So I think the most important thing for Dublin is just don't get relegated. I don't really think it matters getting to a league final or beyond that or whatever. I think once you stave off any relegation worries, that's the most important thing. But look, fair play to Monaghan. Really, really well, good performance. Fair play. They stuck in the game in the first half when they looked under pressure. Again, they found options from the bench when nobody saw it. And I think, look, to be fair to Dublin, it wasn't their best team, but it wasn't a million miles off their best team. Like, Dublin actually probably went stronger than I'd anticipated. You know, Conor O'Callaghan was playing. You know, you had the likes of Kieran Kilkenny out there. James McCarthy came off the bench. So it was still a very, very strong Dublin team, all things considered. It wasn't the best version of Dublin, but it was certainly very, very close to the best version of Dublin. So I think you do have to give Monaghan a lot of credit and fairness. But look, I'd be curious to know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. I am absolutely knackered. I've certainly had a few points, and I think it is time for bed. But let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. Fair play to Monaghan. Deserved victors. Dublin, look, I think at the end of the day, the focus is the championship. That is the focus. But I think at the end of the day, you know, you got to give credit. You got to give credit to Monaghan. Great win.